Hi friends, today we are going to talk about something that I'm seeing pop up more and more on social media, and it feels pressing to talk about. If you're a grandparent like me, and I have 4 amazing grandchildren, this is for you. So I'm going to be sharing 5 tips to help grandparents maintain a healthy, loving relationship with their adult children. So let's talk about it together. Okay, here we go. So this is the kind of stuff that can make or break a family dynamic, and no one talks about it enough. Grandparents want to be involved in their grandchildren's lives, but they aren't going about it always in a positive or productive way. And if this idea is new to you, then maybe you never really thought about things in this way. And, if that's so, I hope that, this may help you, navigate with a fresh mindset. And if you are the adult child that's going through struggles with your own parents, when it comes to your kids, I see you and you're not alone. And I'm really glad that you're here. So here's 5 tips to help you navigate the grandparent-grandchild relationship. Tip 1, being a grandparent is a privilege. It's not a right. Let me say it again. Being a grandparent is a privilege. It is not a right. And you are not entitled to your grandchildren's lives. Nobody deserves access, because when you say that a person deserves something, then what that really means is that, they should have or they should receive something because of their actions or their qualities. And you see what that implies? If you're included, be grateful. That likely means that you have earned your child's trust. And the best thing that you can ever do for your grandchildren is to support their parents. Not financially, that's not what I mean, but emotionally, with kindness and respect. So let go of the illusion of control. Truth be told, you should actually never be making any attempt to control your adult child anyway. It's normal to feel worry though, or even fear, as your kids grow into parents themselves. But ask yourself, am I upset because I disagree with a method of child rearing, or just because I can't control that situation, in the way that I would like to? Number 2, respect their boundaries without taking it personally. Let's go through a few common situations that could maybe trigger conflict. Let's say that your child says, we're getting into a routine with the baby. Can you call or text first before you come by? Don't respond with things like, this is my grandchild, I don't need an appointment, or we don't do things like this in our family. And I have heard both of these reasons used in videos of those sort. But here's the reality check. They are not shutting you out. They are protecting their peace. You must respect the rhythm of their home. Remember, this is what you would have wished for yourself, with your own parents or in-laws. And maybe your child says, we're staying home for the holidays this year and starting our own traditions. For heaven's sake, don't respond with, you won't be around forever, but go ahead and do what you want, or after all we did for you. Wow, what's happening in this situation? Well, guilt trips and emotional leverage don't create closeness. They just damage trust. Your kids deserve the same chance that you had to decide how their lives will work. Perhaps they say, we're not using timeouts. Don't respond with, oh, so I was a bad parent now? Here's the truth bomb. Your identity as a parent doesn't need to be defended here. They're not erasing your efforts, and they're doing what works for them. And this is important. You can offer advice one time, about a subject. So if you must, that is, but if they don't take it, drop it. That's what boundaries look like, and then don't speak on it again. So tip 3, don't post grandkid pics without permission, ever. And let's say this clearly, don't post pictures or details about your grandchildren without permission, not even in private groups or DMs, not even just one. And definitely not, because everyone else is doing it, or because you think it's fine, and you don't see a problem with it. Why? because parents have the right to manage their own child's digital footprint. The world is different now. This isn't a photo in a frame on your mantle. It's, there's facial recognition, data scraping, and digital ID, theft. And those are real threats. Even private albums can be screen grabbed or shared. And this is a permission only situation. It's about respect. You ask every single time, respect their choice, even if you don't understand it or you don't like it. That, my friends, is what support looks like in 2025. Tip 4, stop expecting to be obeyed. You had your turn to parent, and now it is your kid's turn. That doesn't mean that you stop being a parent or you stop caring. It means you evolve into a support system. You are no longer, and you are not now, a commander-in-chief. As difficult as this may be to accept, you are not the primary and most important person in the child's life. Their parents are. And I am not undermining the importance of a relationship with a grandparent. That can be extremely valuable, of course, and enriching, but accepting the fact that you are not number one in the child's life is mandatory for peace. I see a lot of older parents that are Gen X or my age or boomers online, and they're yelling, my kids won't, talk to me, and I have no idea why. An example would be like the doormat mom, and you may have seen her rants. It's just, they're so cringy. But let me tell you, within 5 seconds of hearing these women speak, I can usually immediately guess why they have no contact with their children. And it's because of their tone, the lack of self-awareness, their public criticism of their adult children, their portrayal as victims, and the total and complete absence of accountability for any of the issues that exist. It's all there. And here's the truth. Most estranged adult children, they're not going no contact because of the past or because it's trendy, and most definitely not because, they've been to a therapist. And I see that over and over online. They're walking away from what's still happening in their lives right now. And you know what really builds walls? Entitlement. Thinking that you're owed something. And it may be because of what you've done or something. Which brings me to tip number 5. You're not owed anything, but you can earn everything. And, there's a scene in the movie, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? And it has, it's lived in my heart for literally decades. It's a fabulous movie, by the way, if you've never seen it. Spencer Tracy's last movie. I highly recommend it. So in the story, Sidney Poitier's character is having a serious discussion with his father, who is a retired mail carrier. And he says to his son that he carried his mail bag for 30 years to provide for him, that he walked 75,000 miles during those years. And Sidney replies, I'm going to read this directly here. You tell me I owe you for what you've done for me. Let me tell you something. I owe you nothing. If you carried that bag 1,000,000 miles, you did what you were supposed to do because you brought me into this world, and from that day, you owed me everything you could ever do for me, like I will owe my son if I ever have another, but you don't own me. Wow. That hit me hard when I first heard it, and in my 20s, and I carry that with me. I did in the past as a mother and in the present, and now as a grandmother. Our children don't owe us. We owe them our best, not perfection, but the best that we can do. And the good news is that when you show up, with love and respect is the most important part of this equation. You often get it back in return. And here's a bonus tip for you. Co-grandparent with kindness. Let's not forget another, important relationship, and that is the one that you have with your grandchild's other grandparents. And grandparenting isn't a competition. No one needs to win anything. It's a collaboration. And you might have a, different set of traditions or a different vibe, but they love your grandchild too. And that's a blessing. The gift you can give your grandchild, the best one, is a united front, with adults who love them and respect each other, and don't make them feel like they're caught in the middle of some emotional tug of war. You don't have to agree on everything, but don't be jealous. Don't downplay them or criticize them, especially in front of your grandchild. That does damage that you may not even see until it's too late. We're all here for the same reason, and that's to love a child well. And that's something to be grateful for. Never, ever put your kids in a position of discomfort about having to choose. And don't be the reason for conflict with their partner. Be gracious and grateful. So if you're feeling tension in your relationship with your adult kids, then, especially about your role as a grandparent, I'm reminding you here in this moment, this is your time for self-reflection and, to check yourself, because it is not always about you, period. Frankly, it's the exact opposite. Ask yourself, am I really just concerned, or am I being controlling? Do I need something, or do I want it? Big difference that. Am I adding stress or creating safety for my own child? And don't we want to do everything that, we can to help them navigate their lives and their families? Don't we want to do with a clear heart and no agendas everything we can? Let your kids have their shot. Respect their boundaries. Don't keep score. Be kind, and remember, anything that you contribute is a gift, but it's not a down payment on future access. So if this resonated with you, and I would love to hear your thoughts, in the comments, and I mean, regardless of which side of the fence that you are on currently. And if you're new here, check out my other videos, because and shorts, because my channel has a little of everything from being authentic and plant-based living and gentle aging or parenting reflections, lots of travel and hiking, and more. So please subscribe if you would like to join along with me on this journey. I'd love to have you with me. Bye for now.